Hey everybody, I'm Jason Bent. Welcome back to the channel. Really excited about today's video because I'm going to give you a first look at Festool's updated TS55 track saw, and that is the TS55F. In addition to the new track saw, there are also some new accessories that I'm going to be able to show you that are available with this track saw. And there are some pretty cool changes, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So the first thing you're going to notice is that the TS55 looks identical on the outside, and to be quite honest with you, that's because it is. It has all the great features that we have all grown to love on the previous TS55 model. I want to talk about the biggest change with the new track saw, and that is the fact that they have now put the 1.8 millimeter blade on the TS55F track saw. And in addition to the blade, they also now have a 1.8 riving knife. Now, why does the 1.8 millimeter kerf matter? Well, a few reasons. As most of you watching this probably know, if you've used a TS55 in the past, the blade kerf on the previous models was a 2.2 millimeter blade. The new thinner kerf blades were released last year, and I have been using the thinner kerf blades in my shop for that entire time. So what do you get out of thinner kerf blades? Well, you're going to cut twice as fast. And I can tell you, after using the thin kerf blades for over a year, I 100% can attest that the machine is far more efficient and cuts faster using the thinner kerf blades. It's giving me perfect quality cuts, perfectly straight every time. Now, one of the reasons it's able to cut faster is because you're cutting less material. You're cutting less material because you have a thinner blade. Cutting less material also results in less dust being produced. Therefore, the dust collection is even better than it was before. The new thinner kerf blade takes everything that was already great about this saw and just makes it better and more enjoyable to use. The saw comes standard with a 42 tooth crosscut blade. The new crosscut blade does have a new tooth geometry that actually does assist in making the cuts even faster and cleaner. In addition to the 42 tooth, we have a 12 tooth ripping blade, a 28 tooth universal blade, a 52 tooth laminate blade, a diamond blade, and also bringing back the aluminum blade. Earlier I discussed some additional accessories that are going to be available for the track saw, and the first one I want to highlight is the new guide rails. And as you can see, there's a pretty significant change with these guide rails, and a couple of things that I want to just highlight and make very clear is these slots that you see here, and I'll briefly discuss what each one of these slots is used for. The other new addition that you have is some countersunk holes along here, which will allow you to drill this if you wanted to place it on a vertical surface to hold it in place. But that is not the only option for if you wanted to use this vertically. If you didn't want to use screws, you would simply use these two external slots, and there are some inserts that you can apply into these slots. And on the back side of those replaceable inserts is adhesive tape. So you can simply click those into the track, and then you'll be able to stick it to whatever vertical surface you want. That's going to come in very handy in the event that you don't want to put holes into the thing that you're cutting. Now finally, the slot that is in the middle, that is for you to place it over the top of your sustainer. What this allows is for you to simply place this over the top of the sustainer, lift your handle up, and you can take the track saw, the accessories, and the track all the way into the job site. It makes it very easy to move this from one place to another. Now, these new rails come in two sizes currently, which is the 1400 millimeter and the 1900 millimeter. Now that we've talked about the benefits to the new track saw, let's talk about some of the new accessories that pair very nicely with the new track saw. And this is the FS2 set. And when you open up this box, what you're going to see right on the top is Festool's new guide rail square. And I'm going to walk you through a quick demo on how to apply this, how it works, and a little bit more detail. But first, let's talk about the other things that are in the set. You're also going to get two of the Festool clamps. You will also get another limit stop. One also comes with the track saw, so this will give you a total of two. You're also going to get one of Festool's new hose deflectors, and this is really great, and I'll show you why once we go through this demo. And then you're going to get a pair of the self-aligning track guides. Since we left off with the rails, I want to demonstrate how these new rail connectors go together. And it's two different rail connectors, as you see. These are just two of my old rails because they're shorter and it's easier to demonstrate with that. But what you'll notice is that this one has some slots in it with these set screws, and this one is just a standard bar. This is the stiffening rod, and it goes in the outer channel. This one is the straightening rod, and this one goes on the inner channel. And I wanted to be able to show you that from the bottom, because what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and slide these two pieces together. I've already tightened down this side. Leave a slight gap just in case these edges are not perfectly 90 based on, maybe they got damaged. But that'll just make sure that this back edge comes together nice and flush. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten down the straightening rod. And as I tighten this down, it's actually going to expand this and get everything perfectly aligned across this channel. So let's go ahead and we'll tighten this one down. We'll go ahead and tighten this one down. And already right now I can tell that my back rail is in perfect alignment. And so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and flip this over. And this is where I'm going to make sure that these are nice and tight. And this is just going to make everything nice and rigid. My rails are nice and straight and perfectly aligned with one another. And so the track rides on it and there is no, binding or anything like that. So that straightening rod really does help ensure that these are in perfect alignment. All right, so now let's talk about the new guide rail square. So this is going to simply slide on. There's a couple of things we have to get lined up. So first we have this little nut here that's going to actually go into this groove, and then right here, these go over the top of this groove. So we'll go ahead and slide the first two on, and then it simply slides in place. And then to lock this down, we're going to go ahead and put the clip on it. Now it's locked in place. What you have on the bottom here, the height of this right here is 10 millimeters. This is your guide to ensure that this is perfectly 90 to the edge of your track. And while I've got this flipped over, I'll show you another benefit. There's a groove right here, and that groove is to accept one of these clamps, one of the clamps that comes with the set, or if you already have some, and it clears it right here so there's nothing impeding it. And then you could clamp your track square and your track to the work surface from underneath, and I'll show you another clamping option here in just a moment. So my demo piece that I have here is just some 12 millimeter or half-inch MDF. So next I'm just going to give you a quick demo of how this actually goes up towards the board. Reference surface on the material itself. I'm just going to slide that back, making sure it is nice and tight against the piece of material. And now we have our 90-degree cut. Now another benefit to this, you can see here, if I didn't want to go the route of the other clamping option, I could, in addition to, or just by itself, clamp it right here. That's what these two grooves are for. So you can clamp this in place and make sure that it does not move during the cut. Now, before I said this was adjustable, right now we are in the 90-degree orientation. Well, we're in the 90 and I can go 60 degrees in either direction. So to do that, all I would have to do is loosen this. I can slide this to, we'll just say 30 degrees. Now I can take my track, I can put it up against there like that, and now I have the ability to cut a 30-degree angle. If I wanted to change it, let's say I wanted to go to the opposite direction, 30 degrees. Now I have the ability to do that like so. I have a 30-degree cut. Additionally, this does have already preset detents at 60, 45, 30, 22.5, 15, and 0, and it does that in both directions. You should be able to hear the click as I turn it. So a very versatile track square. It's not just 90, you can do multiple angles with it. So now let's say I wanted to have more reference to the edge to ensure that I'm getting that 90-degree cut, because this is fairly short, so it could have a tendency to rock a little bit, especially if you don't clamp it down. Well, that's where one of these extensions that you can get with this comes in handy. And this attaches very similar to the way that the two tracks attach with these bars, and this would simply slide in like this. It's going to go all the way, and now I have an entire length reference in order to really ensure that I am 90 degrees to this edge. The other benefit to this is that this has markings on it for if you needed to do repeat cuts. So that's where this comes into play. This is a stop, and it does a couple of things. If I go and tighten this down, let's say I wanted to cut 1,060 millimeters, right? Because that's where it just happened to fall. So not only am I using this edge as my reference, this edge references the end of the material to ensure that my cut from that point is at that length, but it also has this support right here to make sure that this bar stays up. So this could be very useful if you are trying to make repeat cuts over and over again and you didn't want to measure constantly. It almost acts as a parallel guide as well as a square. Another well thought out feature is actually the fact that it has these built-in dogs, like bench dogs basically, on the top of this. And to remove these, you can simply just pull them off. Now you would want to place these on whatever edge is going to be your reference edge. So in this case, let's say this side, because that's where the clamp is. But these simply slide into the track, you turn them, so now these are in perfect alignment with the edge here. So you put one there, you put one down here. So why would these come in handy? Let's say that you were trying to cut something that had a rounded over edge on the top. If it was more drastic than 10 millimeters, this is not going to reference off of it. It would just slide on top of the piece that you're trying to cut. So by extending these down, we essentially made our reference edge as thick as 10 millimeters plus these dogs. So these now become the reference. But that's not the only benefit. You can actually use these as bench dogs in the top of the MFT because they're the same size. So if I wanted to reference off of the table, I could, and I could just raise this up and down and place my material underneath it and always be referencing the MFT holes on the table. And finally, the last thing that I wanted to share with you guys is this new hose deflector. So this is the new one. And then this is the old one. And for those of you that have used the MFT in the past are probably familiar with this style. Well, the problem is that while it did cover the majority of it, sometimes you could have a tendency to get the hose caught here if the hose is on the inside. Well, Festool has now fixed that problem by creating one that spans the entire width, therefore eliminating the hose grabbing any part of the sharp edges of the track. So this is a really nice addition to that set. So that is the first look at the TS55F, along with some of the new accessories that will be coming out at the end of this month. If you guys want to find out more information about these products, as well as some of the other products, be sure to visit festoolusa.com. As always, everybody, thank you for watching, and until next time, get out in the shop, try something new, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.